You've been putting in the work, training hard, showing up every day, but nothing's changing. No big wins, no breakthroughs. And that feeling starts creeping in. Why am I even doing this? Most athletes quit at the worst possible time, right before a big breakthrough. But the ones who persist, they know something most people don't. And this something is what allows them to be the less than 1% who go on to fulfill their dreams as an athlete. I'm Sam, a mental performance coach who works with pro athletes, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to stay consistent, even when it feels like nothing is working. So let's get started. Quick one, if you want to know and be able to use the top mental tools that I train elite athletes in, then download my completely free guide, Game Ready, using the link below. Okay, so I want you to imagine that your training and performance in sport is like filling up a jar with drops of water. Every day you add more, drop after drop, but the jar still looks empty. Weeks go by and it feels like nothing's changing. But what you don't see is that the water level is rising just below the rim. And then one day, one more drop falls in and suddenly the jar overflows. This is exactly how progress works. Most athletes quit when the jar looks empty, when they don't see immediate results. But in reality, every rep, every session, every struggle is adding to that jar, getting you closer to your breakthrough. This is what's known as the plateau of latent potential. Progress isn't linear. It builds beneath the surface until suddenly everything clicks. Now, if we look at this using a real example in sport, let's take a middle distance runner training for a 5K. They're logging miles, doing threshold workouts, fine-tuning their pacing, but for a few weeks or even a couple of months, their race time barely improves. They feel stuck, like all the hard work isn't paying off. Then one day they toe to the line for another race, except this time they feel different. Their endurance holds up in the final mile, their legs don't fade, and when they cross the finish line, they realize that they've just shaved 10 seconds off their personal best. It feels like a sudden breakthrough, but it wasn't. Every tough run, every training session where they pushed through the fatigue, and every unnoticed gain in efficiency was stacking up until it finally tipped over. So look, as an athlete, if you're working insanely hard but not getting the results that you're looking for, the problem isn't that you're not improving. It's that you're expecting to see results before they're ready to show. But the question is then, how do you stay consistent even when it feels like nothing is happening? Well, here are 5 mental shifts that elite athletes use to push through. So shift 1 is master the art of invisible gains. When you're grinding day in, day out, it can feel like nothing's changing. But the truth is your biggest improvements are often invisible. And that's exactly why they're so crucial. It's easy to obsess over key performance stats, but the real breakthroughs happen in the areas that you can't immediately measure. The micro improvements in technique, mental toughness, and consistency that aren't yet showing up on the scoreline. Let's take, for example, a volleyball player. Being more geared towards invisible gains is about refining your timing on serves. It's about improving your reaction time on defense so that you can anticipate plays before they happen. It's about measuring your mental game, staying calm and collected even when you're 2 sets down to none, or when the pressure is on during a match deciding point. These invisible gains aren't flashy, but they add up. When you look back, you'll realize that those unnoticeable improvements, your passing accuracy, your focus on positioning, or your ability to read the game, are what made you a stronger player, even if they didn't show up in your stats right away. So to apply this one yourself, focus on one small detail in your training each week. It could be the way you position your body when you strike the ball, or the way that you approach a high pressure moment. Track your progress with how often you're able to hit that key detail consistently, not by whether you've seen a major outcome yet. And over time, you'll start to notice those invisible gains paying off. Okay, so shift number 2 is remember it's your job. This might sound harsh, but sometimes you got to treat your athletic journey like a regular job, especially if you are a full-time athlete. Some days you'll feel like $1 million, ready to conquer the world, and then other days you won't. But no matter how you're feeling, you still have to show up and put in the work, because that's what professionals do. Think about it like this. If you had a 9-to-5 job, you'd still clock in, whether you'd feel motivated or not. You wouldn't skip a day just because you were tired or frustrated. Why? Because you know that the only way to get paid is to consistently show up and put in your hours, regardless of how you feel. And for athletes, that's exactly how it works too. If you wait for motivation to strike, then you're going to miss out on all the small wins that actually lead to bigger results. Whether you're feeling great or you're battling through fatigue, you have to put in the work to get the payoff. To apply this shift, think of your training like punching the clock at the job. Even when motivation dips, show up and focus on the task at hand. Make it a non-negotiable part of your day. And remember, the performance rewards come later, after the hard, consistent work is already in the bank. And then shift 3 is schedule your venting. Athletes are often told to stay positive or keep your emotions in check. But the truth is, emotions like frustration, anger, and disappointment are part of the process. They're not the enemy. The key is not to bottle them up or ignore them, but to channel them in a way that doesn't interfere with your training or performance. Just like training, your emotions need structure. If you don't give yourself a designated time to vent or express your true feelings, those emotions can spill over in unproductive ways, causing burnout, affecting your focus, or even impacting your relationships. But when you give yourself permission to fully experience and release those emotions in a healthy, controlled way, you free up mental space to focus on what's next. Think about it this way. Imagine you're a pressure cooker. If the steam builds up without an outlet, you'll eventually explode. But if you schedule a specific time to vent, whether it's through talking out, journaling, or other physical activities to release the frustration, you're releasing the pressure in a manageable way, which keeps you cool when it really counts. So to apply this shift, start by setting aside a specific time for venting. This could be 10 minutes after a tough training session, or a brief period at the end of the day to talk with a teammate, a coach, or even just journal your thoughts. Don't just let the emotions pile up, give them their space. Use this time to express anger, frustration, or disappointment without worrying about being negative. Then when your venting time is up, you can shift your focus back to your performance, knowing that you've let the pressure out. Then shift 4 is take a step back to move forward. In the world of sports, athletes are often told to push through every challenge and never take your foot off the gas. And when you're not seeing results, it's super tempting to throttle it even more and grind things out even deeper. But the truth is, constantly pushing without breaks or reflection will lead to frustration, burnout, and stagnation. Sometimes the actual best way to stay consistent is to take a step back. Taking a break or switching up your routine doesn't mean you're not committed. It's a strategic move that allows your body and mind to recharge, process what you've learned, and come back even stronger. This is especially true when you're stuck in a rut or just feeling like you've hit a wall. Instead of continuing to hammer away with no results, give yourself permission to step back, to rest and reset. Think of it like tuning an instrument. If you keep playing without adjusting the strings, you're just going to keep hitting a flat note. But by stepping away and tuning the instrument, you ensure that when you come back, you sound better and you perform at a higher level. To apply this shift, actually schedule intentional rest or recovery periods into your training cycle. This could mean having a lighter week in training, taking 2 or 3 days completely off, or just going back to some more basic, easy drills if you struggled with more complex things lately. Basically, you just want to give your body and mind the space they need to refocus. It's often the case that after doing this, that your performance improves once you actually come back with a fresh energy and clarity. And then the last shift is celebrate your failures. This one may seem counterintuitive, but hear me out. Failure is not the complete opposite of success. It's actually part of it. Too many athletes focus on avoiding failure at all costs. But the truth is, failure is one of your greatest allies in becoming great. Every time you fail, you're actually getting closer to success if you're doing it in the right way. Failure shows you exactly where you need to improve, what you need to work on, and how you can adjust your strategy. The key is not to fear failure, but to embrace it as a natural and necessary part of the growth process. Think of failure like planting seeds in a garden. At first, you don't see any results, just dirt. But with every seed that you plant, every failure you experience, you're creating the foundation for future growth. Some seeds take longer to sprout, but each one does contribute to the bigger picture. But if you don't plant the seeds, you'll never harvest the fruits of success. The dirt might look messy, but underneath, progress is taking place. Your failures are the seeds that you're planting for success. Every time you stumble, you're learning, adjusting, and getting better. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about just recognizing that every failure is an essential part of the bigger journey. To apply this shift, when you fail, don't see it as a setback, celebrate it as a part of your growth. Journal about it, talk it through with your coach, and just extract the lesson from the experience. With each failure, you're planting the seeds that will grow into your next breakthrough. But to really embrace this one, you need to stop letting fear get in the way of your progress as an athlete. And to do this, you should check out this video next.